The trailer for From Season 4 episode May 5th have just revealed the darkest truth that the town has been hiding all along, because after watching the preview closely, it genuinely feels like Jade is finally about to uncover memories that were never supposed to return. And if that happens, then the people in the town could be heading towards complete chaos. The trailer was packed with disturbing imagery, terrifying hallucinations, and what looked like the beginning of another massacre cycle. But the biggest thing that stood out to me was the fact that almost every single scene in the trailer seemed to revolve around pain, memories, and the idea that the town itself is feeding off of suffering. There were moments that looked like visions from the past, scenes that hinted at hidden creatures beneath the lake, and even a horrifying shot of Jade seemingly being dragged underground by the monsters. So with that, I wanted to break down the trailer and also give my theories and predictions on what I think is really happening because honestly, this episode looks like it could completely change everything that we thought we knew about the town. So let's get into it. The trailer opened up in an extremely unsettling way with Jade standing in the middle of the forest alongside Boyd while screaming into the air, "Show me what I used to know." And straight away, you can already tell that Jade is reaching a breaking point, because throughout this season he's slowly started to realize that his connection to the town runs far deeper than he originally thought. Ever since the reveal that he's connected to Christopher and the previous cycles of the town, it's almost like he's been carrying around memories that are buried deep inside of him, but can't fully access them yet. The look on his face during this moment was pure desperation. It wasn't anger. It wasn't confusion. It genuinely looked like somebody who knows the answers are trapped somewhere inside of his mind, but no matter how hard he tries, he can't fully reach them. And honestly, this might end up being one of the most important moments of the entire season because if Jade finally unlocks those memories, then he could potentially uncover the truth about the slaughtering that happened in previous cycles, and maybe even how to stop it from happening again. But at the same time, there's also a terrifying possibility here because the town has consistently shown us that knowledge always comes with consequences. Every single person that gets too close to the truth ends up suffering in some way. We saw it happen with Tabitha. We saw it happen with Victor. We saw it happen with Jim. And now it feels like Jade is next in line. Another thing that stood out during this scene was Boyd remaining by Jade's side throughout the hallucination or vision sequence. And that's interesting because Boyd clearly doesn't trust what's happening here at all. He knows that whatever Jade is doing is dangerous. But at the same time, Boyd also understands that they're running out of options. The town is becoming more aggressive, the monsters are becoming more unpredictable, and there's this overwhelming feeling that something terrible is approaching. So even though Boyd probably knows this mushroom trip or memory experiment could go horribly wrong, he's still allowing it to happen because deep down he knows Jade might actually be the only person capable of uncovering the answers they need. However, Boyd being there might not actually help as much as people think, because let's not forget that Boyd himself has gone through countless hallucinations and psychological attacks from the town. The creatures know how to manipulate him. They know his fears. So if something truly dangerous begins happening while Jade is vulnerable, Boyd may not even be able to tell what's real anymore. The next part of the trailer then shifted towards the mystery surrounding the lake, and honestly, I think this could end up being one of the creepiest storylines the show has ever done. We saw Donna and the others pulling something out of the water using the rope that was discovered during the ending of the previous episode. And while they were dragging it in, Donna asked the question, "Is there something in that lake that we need to be afraid of?" That line alone immediately changes the entire tone of the situation because up until now, the lake almost felt like one of the only peaceful places around the town. But now it's beginning to look like there's been something hidden underneath the water this entire time. Something dangerous. Something that maybe wasn't meant to be found. And the trailer heavily hinted that what they're pulling out could actually be those horrifying doll-like figures that Tabitha saw during her childhood visions. The moment we got that flashback of young Tabitha screaming near the stones instantly connected everything together because those creatures or dolls have been haunting her memories for years. Which means this isn't a new threat at all. It's something ancient that's been buried for a very long time. What makes this even more disturbing is the possibility that the previous townspeople may have intentionally trapped those things underwater. Think about it for a second. Why else would there be ropes connected to the bottom of the lake? Why hide them there unless somebody was trying to contain them? And if that's true, then it suggests that whoever came before Boyd's group already encountered these creatures and realized they were too dangerous to leave free. That would also explain why the monsters in the town seem to be evolving, because maybe the things in the lake are somehow connected to the creatures that come out at night. Maybe they're older versions of them. Or maybe there's something even worse. There was one quick shot in the trailer where it looked like a figure smashed through a wall, and honestly, it looked way too unnatural to be one of the regular monsters. The movements felt aggressive and chaotic in a completely different way. So I genuinely think episode 5 could introduce an entirely new type of creature into the show, and that would massively raise the stakes going forward, because the people in the town are barely surviving the monsters they already know about. If something even more dangerous has now been unleashed from the lake, then things could spiral out of control extremely quickly. The next major part of the trailer focused heavily on Mariel, and honestly, I think her scenes might end up being some of the most psychologically disturbing moments in the entire episode, because it genuinely looked like she was beginning to lose her grip on reality. We heard her saying, "There's something old here and it's feeding off of our suffering and it never stops." And while she was saying those words, the trailer kept cutting between flashes of her being chained up inside the caves, and what looked like another horrifying vision happening in the present day. The way the scene was edited made it feel as though the town itself was pulling her back into that trauma and forcing her to relive it over and over again. And this is where things get really interesting, because throughout the series we've constantly seen the town attack people mentally before it destroys them physically. It doesn't just want people dead. It wants them broken. It wants fear, guilt, grief, and suffering. So when Mariel says something old is feeding off of them, I honestly think she might be closer to the truth than she realizes. The town almost behaves like a living entity. Every tragedy seems to make it stronger. Every death creates more fear. And every time somebody begins uncovering the truth, the town retaliates in some brutal way. So what if the entire purpose of the place is exactly that? To trap people in endless cycles of suffering, because whatever controls the town survives through pain. What makes Mariel's situation even more terrifying is the possibility that the man in yellow is directly targeting her now. In the previous episode, there was that conversation surrounding faith and whether a higher power actually existed inside the town. Mariel almost dismissed the idea because from her perspective, nothing about the place feels divine or meaningful. But the irony is that there actually is a higher power inside the town. The problem is that it isn't good. The man in yellow almost feels like the overseer of everything happening there. Every major tragedy somehow traces back to him in one way or another. And the more we learn about the cycles, the more it feels like he's been manipulating events for decades, maybe even centuries. So after Mariel openly questioned the idea of a higher power, it genuinely feels possible that the town itself responded to her words. Almost like she drew attention to herself. Because immediately afterwards, we start seeing these terrifying images of her chained up again, as though she's being punished psychologically. And honestly, From has always been a show that uses fear in symbolic ways. Characters are constantly forced to confront their trauma, regrets, and deepest fears. So Mariel being trapped again could represent the town trying to break her emotionally until she completely loses hope. Another thing that stood out during this part of the trailer was how exhausted and emotionally drained everybody looked. There's this constant atmosphere of hopelessness hanging over the town now, and it's beginning to affect everyone differently. Donna looks terrified. Boyd looks overwhelmed. Tabitha looks mentally exhausted. And Jade looks like somebody who's slowly losing himself while chasing answers. That's why episode 5 feels so dangerous, because it doesn't seem like the threat is only physical anymore. The town is attacking people psychologically from every angle. And the more pressure that builds, the more likely it becomes that somebody is going to snap. Boyd has spent so long trying to keep everybody calm and united, but the trailer heavily hinted that panic is beginning to spread again. Especially if Jade finally uncovers memories about previous massacres. Because imagine how the people would react if they discovered that this has all happened before. That entire groups of townspeople were slaughtered in earlier cycles no matter what they tried to do. That kind of revelation would destroy morale instantly. Some people would probably give up completely. Others might become reckless. And then there's the terrifying possibility that history is simply repeating itself again exactly as it always has.